can share. And it's good to see everyone again. I'm sure as we continue down this process, other committee members will jump on board. I know it's been a few months, but I'm confident. We're going to keep some excitement going here because this is a good cause. It's a good reason, and it's powerful when parents can come together and synergize around something that's so important, and that is our children. So I just want to immediately start off by saying how proud I am of you as parents for coming together and saying, hey, we're willing to serve on this committee, not just for the betterment of my own child, but for the betterment of other, we call parents of VIPs and the VIPs themselves. So I'm going to start talking. I got a little PowerPoint I want to share. Please let me know if you can see this okay. Hopefully you can. Megan, you're the only one I can see, so I believe I'm dependent on your thumbs up. And Ina just came back, so she'll be here in a moment. She probably is having tech issues as well. We got to work on the Wi-Fi in Virginia. You guys need a little help down there. little Virginia joke right there. Delaware, believe me, you're way ahead of us. Trust me. And so what we're going to be doing today is talking about this parent as coach. I'm going to tell you something. I came up with this whole idea a long time ago because I have 4 beautiful children. I do. And I grew up in a world where, I'll be honest with you, I had the most amazing mother in the world. If somebody's on, you may want to mute yourself. I don't know if for some reason I'm hearing the backdrop noise. So if we can mute, that will go away. Thank you. I think we lost her again. I think she's having issues. But I grew up in the world, had a great mom, still does. Unfortunately, she has dementia and things. She's okay. She's surviving. But she raised 2 boys to the best of her ability. So my mom was never big on making excuses for our family. Like she came to the realization a long time ago that as she goes, her boys go. And so even though we lived in poverty and even though we didn't have a lot around us, she never used that as an excuse for not being a mom, not being an example, not being a role model. Matter of fact, a lot of times people would say, well, she has 2 boys and, those boys need, they need male role models. And then she would say, hey, hold on a second. The reality is that if somebody steps up, that's great. If they don't, I'm going to be the role model. Now, fortunately, we have people that stepped up. But she said, I'm not going to wait for something to happen out there before something happens in here. And so with that foundation in my own life, I came to the realization that, and I have 4 kids, and I take that same philosophy into my own home. And I say, you know what? We're the coach of the team. The parents are the coach of the team. Because that's what I looked at my mom was like. She was the coach of the team. And she had, what I mean by that is there's no coach on the planet that wants to see their team lose. You know what I mean? Could you imagine if you watch a sporting event and you say the coach sitting there and say, go out there and lose big? That just doesn't happen. Coaches want to see their teams win. And so the parent as coach premise, a big part of it is just, we want to see our families win. We want to see our kids win. Now, for those of you who are experiencing me for the first time, I want to let you know I'm extremely optimistic. And what I mean by that is I don't lower the bar of expectations, I raise them. You know what I mean? One of my mentors said it like this: nobody rises to low expectations. And so you're going to hear me say some things and you may say, well, does he know that our children are blind and visually impaired? Yes, I do. I absolutely do. And I understand it and I respect it to the maximum. But that doesn't mean that we can, that there's not hope for our kids to be able to still maximize their potential, despite the disability. Matter of fact, I came up with a term that other people are using today because we've been working with youth with disabilities for a long time. And I started this a long time ago. Now you have other people saying it, but it's my quote. So if you hear somebody use it, they stole it from me. But that is, disability does not mean inability. That's all it is. Disability does not mean inability. What does that mean? Anybody out there, when you hear that, what do you hear from that statement? What does it mean? Disability does not mean inability. It could be anybody on the call when you hear that. Any of you parents want to chime in on it?
Oh, can you hear me, Coach?
I can hear you, Nemo. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. So to me, that means just because you have one single disability, that doesn't mean all of the entire you is disabled. You have abilities different than somebody else.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you can do things. It doesn't mean you have to be disabled for the entire life period. It just means in that area you may not be able, but there are other ways you can make up things and live a fulfilling life.
I love it. Thank you so much. There it is. There it is right there. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Anybody else? Anybody else? Any thoughts? Disability doesn't mean inability. Make sure you write that down. It doesn't. And let me tell you, in the state of Delaware, we created the nation's first special education students and students with disability youth advisory council. This had never been done before in any state ever, because and the goal of the students were to lead their own IEP meetings. And people were saying, there's no way kids can lead their own IEP meetings. And I said, that's where you made your first mistake. What do you mean there's no way? What are you talking about? No way. And so it's funny because when we were invited in, they had been trying for 2 years with no success. And I said, that's why you're not successful, because of your words. And I said, I want each school to bring 5 to 10 kids. Within 30 days, we're gonna have a meeting with the kids and let's see what they have to say. And at this for our first meeting, we had probably about 70, 80 kids that were on fire. Like, yes, we can do this. We had kids that were visually impaired. We had kids who had all kinds of different situations. And there was not a one of them that didn't think they can do it. It was them in 2 years, because we worked with them, we coached them, we inspired them. We stayed the course with them. Within 2 years, they created a national best practice. And it was the first state in this national in the United States that had student-led IEP meetings. They were so successful with it that the Council for Exceptional Children gave Delaware this big, huge award. And I told the state of Delaware, y'all don't need the award, those kids do. I said, because a lot of folks didn't even believe in them. And then all of a sudden, here are these kids. So what I'm trying to say is, that's the mindset I bring to these type of things. I'm not in any way trying to lower the bar or be disrespectful, but I believe in the potential of your kids, and I know you do because you're here today. So what I want us to do today is synergize around getting other parents throughout the state to see this. When you and as a coach, you can create an atmosphere in your home that your children, despite a disability, can still feel their potential. And we've heard, I don't know if y'all were at the town hall, but we heard story after story of young people that were doing amazing things. But one thing we found with all those young people is they had parents that believed in them. Parents who were behind them, parents who didn't lower the bar of possibilities for them and inspired them. So these are my 4 beautiful kids. They're good looking. They do look just like me. If you're wondering, yes, that's where they get their good looks from. And Sharice, you didn't hear that because, we guys aren't supposed to say this stuff, right? But I have 4 beautiful children I'm very proud of. And, my youngest is 11. She's the last one in the house and she's getting spoiled rotten. And I've taken great joy in spoiling her because she's my little 11-year-old sweetheart. And I have a 24-year-old son, Daryl, and then my daughter, Sophia. My 2 kids right now, Alexander and Sophia, just warms my heart as a father. They're taking their spring break from college together in Orlando, Florida. I said, man, you can't get any better than that. When 2 of your kids want to get together and go on a vacation together, oh my God, you feel like you just hit the jackpot, because usually kids are going at it with each other all the time, but these 2 care for each other, and all my kids do. And I'm glad we were able to foster that. So let me dive into this. Just wanted to lay about today. So we're going to talk about facilitating the course. This is going to be really easy. I'm going to share some information. What I'm going to be sending out to you are the actual, this is just talk. You're going to get a copy of this video and you're going to get these slides too. And what we're going to send out to you are the modules we'll use before each training course. So you'll see what it looks like from the trainer side and the participant side. And what I want you to think about today is, as you get this information, I want you to look it over. And because the way we're going to do it is, I want you to feel comfortable contributing. You know what I mean? Like you may have a thought that you want to share relating to this, and I'm okay with that. So I don't want it to be, we do this training and then it's all Coach D facilitating. You look at the content, you may say, hey, Coach, I got some ideas of some things I want to share based upon this topic, and we'll give you time to share them. So because when we do this trainings, we're going to invite that to the larger parent community beyond the committee. And so it's going to be us and them. In other words, I'm going to really be leaning on you for your contributions. Okay. But I'm going to tell you something. I've conducted this training all over the United States, and the ones who have done it well are succeeding big time because they realize that, man, we're creating a synergy around something that's so important. That's parents becoming coaches. So let me give you a couple of my real famous, popular coaches. I won't say famous, but popular quotes. And that is this, from this model. Parents are the coach of the household team. Everyone else is an assistant coach. Please write that down. Parents are the coach of the household team. Everyone else is an assistant coach. You know, Megan, as much as we love you all, as much great work you and Tish do, you're assistant coaches. You know what I mean? Because realistically, you're helping parents, but it's the parents that are the coach. So by saying, I want my child to participate in your programs, that's a way of saying, I see you as a phenomenal and much needed assistant coach to what I'm doing as a parent. That's what I mean by this statement. And I'll tell you something, when I first came up with this statement, I personally loved it because I realized how important it is, you know? And so a lot of, like, I do a lot of work in education, not as much as I used to, but a lot of people would point fingers at certain things all the time. It's the school, it's the this, it's the that. Now, granted, there are some challenges out there. I'm not denying that. But I remember speaking to one of the secretaries of education many, many years ago under the Bush administration. Rod Page was his name. And we were both speaking at a conference. And I told him, I said, man, as much as I love what you're all doing for kids in schools, I'm the coach of my house. You know, and I said, your teachers are assistant coaches. You know what I mean? The ones that are educating, but I'm the one that got to have the vision. I'm the one that needs to have strategy. And then when they go to school, they're going to school with a sense of purpose. Because as a parent, I'm laying that foundation out there. You see? So if it's being a kid with a disability, and my kids don't have visual impairment, but my kids have had, a couple of my kids dealt with disabilities. My one son deals with dyslexia. And so it was difficult. When he went to college, he needed accommodations. And they worked with him, they helped him, and he graduated with like a 3.2 grade point average. But it was the assistance and the help of everyone. See, that school, that college became my assistant coach to help my son get through this process. So what I'm saying is that, but I sent him to school with a sense of purpose, a sense of destiny, despite that disability that he had. All right. And I love this one. And this is one of my first quotes I ever created, but I love it because there's a truth. And that is, the student with a dream is a student with a future. However, a student with a dream is fueled by a caring adult who believes in their dreams. So we as parents, all right, we want our students to have a dream for the future, and everybody's dream is going to be different. Everybody's dream is going to be different. Like Nima said earlier, you may not be able to do this, but you can possibly do that. And so what we do is we find out what that is. What is that? And what we say is, okay, yeah, thank you, Ian, I appreciate that. You know, and so what we're saying is, what's that? And then we work with them on that, whatever that is. You know what I mean? To help them enhance that skill set so that they can take whatever that is and do something with it, maybe for a career standpoint across the board. With Pennsylvania OVR, they had this program we did with them called Work something. And what they had done is in partnership with CSAVR, there was several big corporations that came to Pennsylvania for this big summit that they had. And what happened was these corporations were literally taking young people who had certain skill sets, and they were like doing apprenticeships and stuff with them and allowing them to have an experience with their companies. You know, so these kids with disabilities were doing things that people didn't think were possible. And they became possible because the door was open for them to do it. Our kids can do a whole lot more than we can ever imagine sometimes, if we give them the opportunity. So it was great to be there because it was great to see all these young people now being exposed to all these opportunities, but more importantly, a bunch of adults who believed in their dreams. That was beautiful to see that. A bunch of adults who believed in their dreams. And I said, wow, this is fantastic. So don't forget these two quotes as we go. If I can get this to go back. No, it doesn't want to go back. Why won't it go back? It keeps going forward. Okay, go back. Okay. All right. Parents are the coach of the household team. Everyone is an assistant coach. And a student with a dream is a student with a future. So as a parent committee, we want to encourage our parents, as we're doing these trainings, to help your children get a dream. Folks, obviously they have a disability. We know that. We know they're blind, they're visually impaired. We know that our children are there, but don't let their whole world be about that. You know what I mean? When you read stories of people who were blind and visually impaired or other types of disabilities, and you hear their stories 9 times out of 10, and I've listened to thousands of these stories. It was a parent. It was a parent that believed in them. A lot of people don't realize this, but Albert Einstein in elementary school was considered, back then they used the term mental retardation, way back then, like mentally retarded. Could you imagine that? That they thought that Albert Einstein couldn't learn. And then his mother said, oh, yes, he can. And his dad said, yes, he can too. And so by the 9th grade, he was reading college level books and was having conversations with high level professors that they didn't understand. And the reason why is because all these folks said that this kid couldn't learn. And the mom and dad said, oh, yes, he can. You see, so I'm not trying to counter or cause challenges with education systems, but there's nothing more powerful than the encouragement of a mother and a father. Nothing. To help a young person see the potential despite limitations. And so as we're doing this training, which I'm going to show you, we're going to look at doing a few over the next few months. I want us collectively to come together and say, hey, we want to rally with each other around this. Sharice, that's important. Is Sharice still on here? I think we may have lost him. I think he got kicked out. And I was going to have him comment because I know we've talked about this before.
We're here.
No, my computer, technology never fails to surprise you.
It's a Virginia thing, man. Y'all can't help yourself.
No,
I just said that a little earlier. You missed that.
No, I was listening to what you said, and
Yeah.
2 things jump out at me. One, in the parent being the coach, everyone else being the assistant coach,
Yeah.
you draw out a really important time that it always begins with a parent. There's a level of the accountability and responsibility that starts with a parent, and no one cares about your child the way you do.
Absolutely.
You start off with that, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Huh?
Yep. That's it.
And then believing in your dreams, or believing in your child's dream. You brought up another really important point, which is sometimes we try to protect our kids so much because we think they can do something. Let them swim, let them fly, let them do whatever. And sometimes, I know I've had to do that. I had to retrain myself to say, no, I don't need to protect my child all the time.
That's right.
So I love those 2 quotes.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And I love what you just said, because, my children don't have, they're not dealing with blind and visually impaired, but I'm a parent and I get it. Like when my son said he wants to move to California, he only had like money for 2 months rent. And I'm like, boy, California, I'm ready to pull the parent card and say, maybe we need to think about this. But guess what? He did it, found a job within 4 days, and is doing well. And you just don't know what that means to me as a father, but I had to let him go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's that?
They surprise you so much. They surprise you with the ingenuity and just like when we were young, we said, okay, we're gonna go do it. We were fearless. We go out and do it, and not knowing those risks is sometimes a good thing, because you just don't worry about it so much. You just go out and do it.
Go out and do it. Yeah. Yep. And that's why I was like, it's weird. Like it's almost like when my wife and I, she's more to get out there and do it, kid. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm more hold on, wait a minute type. But she said, the moment he goes to California, this is what she said to me. I know he's going to step up to the plate. I know it. He said, because we prepared him. And she said, and I'm like, oh, that's a long way away. You know, I'm just doing the dad thing, overprotective dad. He
Your
got
house sounds like our house.
yeah. Yeah, man. You know what I'm talking about. And
Yep.
then and he got out there and he said 4 days the boy was employed. Literally. I said, wow. My wife looked at me and said, what did I say? I said, yes, dear. Yes, sweetie. Yeah. So yeah. But so you know, so what I want to just a few points here, like you're gonna get follow-up to this. This is just I want to lay a foundation tonight. And you know, with DBVI, we talked about it, and we want to, you know, again, we want the parents. And my hope is that, again, once we go through these training and maybe even beyond my time there, and we'll look at what that looks like. Even if I got to do it gratis, I must maybe hang around for a while beyond my time, because I just want to be a part of what you're all doing, because this is special, you know. But I want this parent as coach premise to kind of be woven into anything we do, like committee, if we have meetings or if we have events, because we're trying to empower parents and support and encourage parents around this quest. So this model, it would be kind of a good model for adding into some of the things that, you know, from a committee perspective, you're looking at doing, because this is a really good, you'll see as we go through some of this, the concepts really. So the premise is parents are the ones who need to have the strategy. And the reality is we do. And that's always tough, because sometimes, like, you know, as our kids get older, or, you know, various things, sometimes people will feel like, well, you know, they don't listen to me like they used to, or, you know, or something. So, and you start realizing, listen, they're still your kids. They're still, you know, it's funny with my kids as they start getting older. You know, I remember my 18-year-old, he said, Dad, you know, I'm pretty much a man now. I said, well, when I look in your bedroom, I see the clothes that I bought for you on the hanger. I see the sneakers that you're wearing that I purchased for you. I see that that money I'm paying for your college every month, but you a man? See, he wants to be a man in what he wants to do. But I said, no, you're not quite there yet, you know, because I'm the parent. And as a parent, I have a duty and a responsibility to give him some guidance. So the good thing is I talk to my kids, and sometimes there's some resistance, but they know we have their best interest at heart, and they listen, you know. Like, it's funny, just a side note, like, so my son he went to VMI, unfortunately that didn't work out. So he's at another college. And I told him, I said, son, the most important place for you on the campus is the Career Center. I said, because you go to college for a career, and most kids never visit that place, all right? And he said, I'm taking my classes, but finally he went over and visited. And the moment he walked in there, the first time he walked in there, he met with the director, and the director said, showing up is half the battle. You just won half the battle. You're good. And my son is in sports management. He wants to do in the sports management. So the director said to him, oh, what's your interest? He said, I like boxing. He said, maybe I'll be an agent. He said, well, I'm best friends with Don King's son. He said, I'm going to put you on a call with him. My son called me up and said, Dad, you won't believe what happened. I said, you went to the Career Center, didn't you? He said, I did. And he's so excited. I said, your dad knows a little something. Now, I didn't know he was going to end up meeting the guy that knows Don King's son, but he listened, because you know why? I know that he's going there for a reason, and he's young and he needs guidance. You know what I mean? And so as a parent, I'm not there to helicopter. I'm there to advise. That's a difference. I'm there to advise. Okay. Helicoptering is too much. That's when we start losing them. But when we're giving advice, that's different. We're trying to say, hey, we care about your future. So we're not there to helicopter, we're there to advise. All right. So successful coaches plan, they strategize, they adjust, and they customize, you know. And so we want to have plan, we want to strategize, we want to customize, and we want to adjust, which means sometimes when we're doing these things, we want to make adjustments, okay? And the way we interact with our kids. And what that basically means is each session will have an aspect of planning, adjusting, strategizing, and customizing. I'm not going to go through all that tonight, but training to me of any type, coaching of any type, you need plans. You need something that's going to be a follow-up. You know, Megan can share with you, tell you, when we did the staff development, we had a thing called think tanks. And the purpose of the think tanks was that we did this training, but what are we going to do to implement this stuff and make it a priority? So the think tanks are like the follow-up accountability piece. So when we plan, so we can adjust, we can strategize, and we can customize. And so, you know, with each of these things we'll be sharing with parents, we want to make sure we have some elements of that in there. So the topics we want to look at for the training that we're looking at doing a few of these over the next few months. We're not going to get to the role modeling part, but we're going to get to these other three here. Okay. But I'll clarify what that role modeling part looks like, and we'll see what that looks like beyond these. But we're going to talk about family, vision, and mission. We're going to talk about passion mapping and identifying assistant coaches, i.e. what I call a dream team. All right. So when I wrote the book, The Parent as Coach, Developing a Family Dream Team, the dream team was really the people around us that help us in the effective raising of our kids. And I'll show you some of my stuff here in a few moments. All right. So let's look at this, and I'm going to again throw some questions out to you as we go through it, but I want you to see this. So the family vision is powerful. Okay. Vision is necessary to help our kids see the future potential in their current state. And that's important. So because when they're young, they don't see it a lot of times. They don't feel it. They may be going through something. Again, having a kid with a disability, it could be overwhelming. And so in their minds, they're living, and this is just a young person thing. It's a kid with disability and without, a lot of times they're living in the moment. The moment is overwhelming them. You know, interaction with friends, what people think about me, what's taking place here, what's taking place there. And so when you talk about their future, sometimes like I would do student assemblies, and there'd be like 1,000 kids in a gym, and I call up 5 of them, I ask them what they want to do in their future. A lot of them are like, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. And you realize there's a lot of young people out here who haven't been given any kind of vision, you know, or whatever. Now, I'm not saying that you need to know what you want to do early in life and, you know, just let's get on that course. But parents, when we talk about vision, we're talking about illuminating the potential to do something. You know, you can go, you know, go to VOTEC or trade school or something where you can gain a skill, or you can go to college, or you go into the workplace. I mean, it could be a variety of different things, but it's important from a parent's perspective, all right, to be able to communicate vision to our kids, you know? And so this picture my son did for my wife. I told you my son is an artist. So he just drew something up and said, I want to let you know what you mean to me. And he did this for his mom. And dad looks mighty thin in that picture. And I like that look right there. I told him, I really like how buff I look. Thank you for shedding those pounds on Papa. But that's what he sees in his mom. So how many understand what I mean when I talk about vision for your family? Anybody have any feedback or thoughts on they want to add to this conversation before we go into some of the other parts?
Yeah, one question I had out there, as our children get older,
Yeah.
It's one thing about having our vision for our kids, but how do we elicit their information, their inputs into that? Because
Right.
it's easy if you have a strong personality and your child is still in her or his shell, to say, well, whatever mom and dad want.
Yeah.
Where you're finally successful if you can draw it out of them.
Yeah. Thank you. So let me answer that. What I'm part of what I'm trying to communicate with this. When I talk vision, it's not necessarily saying, I think the best way to say this. When I talk vision, it's the culture and the climate that we have in our home that focus our conversations around the future. So what I mean by that is, let me give you an example. What my son I just told you about, he has a tendency to be hard on himself. So when he talks about himself, it's usually in the negative. Okay. And so this is what I do. When he talks about things in the negative, I'll say, man, and it throws him off when I do it. Man, I just see greatness in you, man. Dad, what you talking about? Oh man, I know you're gonna go and do some amazing things with your life, son. I can see it. Come on, Dad, you just trying to, Dad, no, man. I'm just telling you what I see. Dad, you're just trying to be positive. I said, well, call it what you want. But the reality is, I'm not going there with you. I'm not. My job as a father is to keep you focused on your potential. And what I'm going to do is continually have conversations about you, well, what you are, not what you see. You understand what I mean by that, Sharice? It's like,
Yep.
it's part of the conversation. So when I talk about vision, it's really about culture. That our words, like we know, like our kids, because I was young, I had some stuff that I would say about myself because I was young, But what I'm doing is I'm positioning the culture of my home around potential, not problems. Now, that doesn't mean that sometimes I need to sit and listen to my kids and what they're going through. I can't just always be Mr. Optimistic. It could be sometimes where they're really having a problem. And then they'll feel like dad is like, I need to talk to dad, but all he's gonna do is just tell me, So sometimes I have to have some discernment to say, okay, this is not the time for that. They just had a bad situation. Like my daughter had a situation with a young lady that was her best friend who dumped her over some foolishness. It was insane. I don't even want to go into the detail. Dumped the friendship. Family got upset about something, it was just crazy. And my daughter was in pain. And in that moment, I couldn't say to her something optimistic about, her future. I said, sweetheart, talk to dad about what's going on. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And she said, I feel deserted. I feel abandoned. I'll tell y'all what it is. It's nothing. Yeah. I'll tell you what it is. My daughter got a little bit involved with, she wasn't doing marches and rallies and all that, but when the whole Black Lives Matter thing kicked in, she started talking about, racial equity and diversity, and she started becoming a little bit vocal. Well, her friend is a Caucasian young lady, and her family didn't like that. And so her family told her, don't associate with her anymore. So I'm saying this for a reason, not to stir up any pots here, but I'm telling you what happened. And so, but they were best buds. They were right hand, left hand. And so what I'm saying is situations happen. I couldn't go now and say, Sophia, girl, you got a great future, don't worry about that. One day she'll look at you and wish she wouldn't have dropped that friendship. I could have easily done that because my daughter's an amazing young lady. But in that moment, so when I talk about vision in the context and what I'm talking about, Sharice, is really designed to create a climate in which we're pointing our kids to the future, not locking them into the current. Does that make sense? I hope this is clear.
Yes, it does. I mean, that's a great point. I tend to be very strong, strong opinions and doing that. And I try to work on myself in setting that thing that I'm actually, I have to tell myself sometimes to shut up and listen.
Yeah. It's the greatest.
They don't feel intimidated. My kids shouldn't feel intimidated about expressing themselves just because dad has strong opinions or dad is very vocal and things like that.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I wanted to say was that as part of your culture, if you watch your kids really carefully since they were little, they tell you the types of things that they are interested in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And to encourage them in that area, like our daughter, she used to walk around with a microphone in front of her and talking. She was 2 or 3 years old. She'd like to go out there and be on the runway right then and there. She's now a model and actress. That's her tendencies were trying to be, she liked to be in front of the camera and that kind of stuff that was there. Our middle son, he liked to argue with you about different points and stuff like that. So he is a lawyer at this point. Our youngest was watching movies right and left all the time. He's going to be a director and cinema producer. So you can see these things happening with them. And, you have to hold yourself back to say what was right for me is not necessarily right for them. They have to develop what's best for them. We just watch and encourage whichever area that they want to go into and be the best at that. Follow their passion.
Well, let me tell you something, Nima. You just took my second point, my second bullet away. You just nailed what I'm about to talk about after this one. Okay, you'll see in a moment because you're spot on. And so, like what you just shared with us, that needs to be shared in the training. You'll see in a moment. because that is exactly what it is. That's exactly how I raise my kids. All my kids are in their gifted areas because once you got to be observant. But let me get to this one and you'll see in a second. It's just exactly what you just talked about. And it's an area of training that we're going to. So with vision, we want to how to create one, obstacles consider communicating vision to young minds. You know, Sharice, we talked about young folks and the way they're thinking. You know, we got to be able to communicate in a way that their young minds can embrace it in measuring success. And then, you know, then we want to communicate the need for vision relating to family guidance. We want to, and you know, and I like the chat feature. Keep that going. I love how you're putting stuff in there. Provide a tool to write it. So in the training, there's going to actually be a document that they can take time and write down some visionary stuff and encourage them to share the vision with their families. Like there's some families I've worked with that have actually created vision boards as a family. And they put them in the middle of their homes and the kids can see them. And, you know, obviously with blind and visually impaired, it may be a challenge, you know, in some place, but you can maybe do something similar. You know what I mean? Where you can create something where the kids can have a feel for what it is you're doing. So there's different ways to go about doing this. But, and so, yeah, so going to this, and I see Ina put hers in there. My daughter's also very focused and knows she wants to pursue. That takes us to the next one. That's passion mapping. All right. And that is, you know, a student with a dream is a student with a future. And so passion mapping is the next subject we want to talk about in this training, because like Nima said, all our kids have giftings, all of them, they have giftings. And so, you know, kids with disabilities, kids without, they're gifted. They are. I just believe that all young people were born with something. I just naturally believe that because my kids, like you're saying about your daughter, my daughter started dancing around the house the moment she can start moving her little feet. Always dancing. I mean, no, it's funny. When we would watch a movie, she would dance through the whole movie. My son would draw it. So now he has a degree from one of the top art schools in the country. And she has a nonprofit to help orphans in Kenya around dance and movement, you know. So it's interesting. You know, she's at American University. Those giftings, they're using them in a manner that in which they were naturally wired to do. So passion mapping, it's a process. We talk about passion mapping, you know, now again, in the cases where we're able to do it with students that can do these type of things, we have them actually create maps, you know. And you can see this is a group of students that looked at doing something around, you know, being a chemist, a teacher, researcher. These are just different things. Science was the passion that they looked at. And then they looked at relevant academics, reading, math, science, college majors, teaching degree, biology degree, chemistry degree, positive role models, a college professor, high school teacher, or a mentor. These were kids that did this. You know what I mean? That took the time. And all we did was give them the instructions, you see? And so, but what we were saying is that the word I use a lot is called affinity. You have an affinity for it. Like for me, the way I'm communicating now, I've always been into, it's funny, my mom told me I was a little boy, you're gonna use that mouth for something positive. I remember the first time she saw me speak on stage, it was in front of like 3,000 people. She was in tears. And so it was in my hometown, they invited me back to speak. And I was moved because it was a school district, it was Syracuse University, it was all these different people. And I was born and raised in the projects 2 blocks from this place. And so afterwards, my mom was crying and everybody was applauding and I was hometown hero. I walked out on the stage and I gave her a hug and everybody's excited about that. And I hugged her. I looked at her, I said, what are you doing all this crying for? And she looks at me and you know what she says to me, Cherie? She said, I knew you were going to use that mouth.
She was right.
I said, you would have to go there, wouldn't you? She said, yeah. I said, but I'm so proud of you. But I knew one day, because that mouth drove me crazy when you were a little kid. So, oh my goodness. So you realize that, yeah, there's something, but you know what I'll say this to her, she never killed the gift. I was a little mouthy. I had a lot to say, but she saw it as something that could have potential. So what she did was work with it, not kill it. That's an important parenting point. So this is something we're going to train to. Again, you're going to get the modules. You'll see what it looks like, but I just want to let you see these out here. And then, you know, what do we want to do? Helping children believe in using their gifts and talents. Someone's going to say something?
No.
I heard someone. Okay. Parents helping children make the connection to current education in the process. That's the relevant academics. And then parents steering our children towards role models and possible to post their. I used to sit down with my son And because he was in the arts, and we would research great artists. We researched Disney. What's the guy that does the Cat in the Hat and all of that stuff? We researched him, you know, and other people. We researched a lot of Charles Schultz, I think his name is. No, that's Peanuts. Yeah.
Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss. Yeah, Dr. Seuss. We studied him. And so what happens, I realized my son had this gift. So guess what? Let's study the greats. You know, my daughter would dance, the same thing. You know, now she's combining dance with diplomacy. She wants to be a diplomat. That's her goal, because she wants to help these kids. And she said, I can help them a lot. You know, thank you, Tisha. There you go. Tonight, what my dreams are. See, this is what I'm saying. We want that same type of response when we're doing this training. Thank you, Tisha. That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, what you just put in the chat feature, because that's what we want. You know what I mean? We want to. And keep in mind, they may not fully know right now. That's okay. Now, one thing I'm thinking about doing, and I'll talk to Megan and Tisha about this, is in conjunction with this, and I'll do it just gratis. It's nothing, it's part of anything. Maybe when they get all our kids on, and we'll do a passion mapping workshop.
Oh, that'd be
Oh, I love
nice.
it.
Yeah, just get them on. Let's just do it. And so I'll be more than willing to do that. And so Megan, let's make sure we talk about that. I would love to do that for you, because you know, the kids love it. Even virtually, it'll be something they will be into. All right. And you and parents, yes, parents can work with them through some things as we're going through the process, because we've done it a lot with parents. And it's great because the parents get to work with the kids when they're working on different aspects. Because if you go back to this one slide, this always does this. We go back, you know, we've had parents work on this with their kids. And then they find like, wow, I had no idea my kids were interested in this. And I said, now you can support them, because they're letting you know they have an affinity towards it. It's a gift, really, you give your kids. All right, so that's the second area. Then the third area that we're going to focus on, I'm going to talk about the fourth area, but the third area is building our dream teams. Now, you probably already have them, but what we're going to do now is try to coach parents on how to intentionally have the right people interacting with your kids. So these are my guys right here. 13 years ago, I created a thing called Dads United. And this is why. I grew up in the world. My father wasn't a part of my life, unfortunately. Yep. Yeah. I like that, Nima. That's a good book. I've heard of that book. Yep. Yep. And so I said 13, that was 13 years ago. I said, I don't want to be the only dad voice in my children's life. I want them to have other dads speaking to them. So I went to my friends here and said, hey guys, listen, man, you love your kids and I love my kids, and you love my kids, I love your kids. Let's plan something. We come together every month, once a month for a couple hours on a Saturday, and let's educate our kids. Let's work with our kids. Let's love our kids. And for 13 years straight until COVID hit, we did it. Literally every single month. And I'm gonna tell you, and if you can just see what's come out of this, it's incredible. But these are my assistant coaches. I'm meeting with two of them tonight, the guy with the glasses on and the guy with the hat. When I'm done here, we're going out and we're going to hang out a little bit and chat, because we get together all the time and talk. The guy with the glasses on in the back, not me, because I'm looking real cool right there, but the other guy with the glasses, he and I and his wife, we went out to dinner a few days ago and hung out. This is my dream team right here. So when I say assistant coaches, we're there for each other. Like my son one time was going, there's one guy that's not involved, not in this picture, but he's a part of it too. So one time my son was going through some growth stuff. You know what I mean? He was dealing with some young boy growth type things where he got a little bit of an attitude about stuff. One of the guys that's a part of this group said, man, I noticed D has been acting a little differently. And I said, yeah, you know, and now keep in mind, let me tell you this guy's situation. He's a judge here, big time judge in our state, very busy, extremely busy. I mean, got scheduled, like he said, well, here's the deal. He said, we want to take some time off and go spend time with Daryl. And I said, man, it's just going to judge. I said, Judge, man, you don't have time to take off. He said, I do for your son. And so he literally took a day off. Took my son. I didn't even ask him, because that's what we are. I said, I didn't say, where you taking him? I said, he said, I want to spend time with him. We're going to grab something to eat. We're going to hang out, and he'll come back later. My son came back later, a changed kid.
Wow.
Came back later. I didn't ask Sheldon what he said to him or anything, but you know why? He's a part of my dream team. And I knew he cared about my children. And we've done that often for each other's kids, you know? And so I'm sharing this because this is not something we hear about a lot, but I started doing this because I know we need assistant coaches. Now, sometimes it's going to be in these kind of scenarios, but sometimes it could be in your school, coach of a sports team, a school teacher, where you say, you know, I'd love to go have a cup of coffee with you. And let's talk about, I'm raising this young man, I'm raising my daughter, and she really likes you. She always talks about her favorite teacher. And guess what? What I would like to do is for us to stay in touch with each other, because, you know, I would love for you to be a part of my dream team. What teacher's going to say no? You know what I mean? They're going to say, oh my God, you serious? Yeah. So, you know, not that we want to get together and strategize around keeping her in check if she got attitude issues, I'll say, but we're going to come together because we have her best interests at heart. And I know you care about my daughter, you see? So we want to get those assistant coaches, but here's the deal. What I'm talking about now is being intentional, you know, not just saying just because you're an uncle, because you're aunt, because you're a cousin, that's good. And that's beautiful. But sometimes we say, we know there's 7, 8, 9 different people out there. I think they're really at my kid's best interest at heart. And so with this dream team, you want to discuss your family goals. Obviously, without saying, you want people you can trust, you know, and to support you, and proper exposure to your kids to encourage them. So that means that this person is actively involved in your kid's life. You know what I mean? They're not, now it's not like they're coming over every day to see your kid. I'm not saying that. It's not like you're going every day to see their kids, but they know your kid. You know what I mean? They know your kid, like, you know, and my kids aren't perfect. They've had challenges, and these dads have always been there for them. But then some of their kids have had challenges, and we've been there for their kids. You know, a lot of people I wrote the book, The Purpose Living Teen, A Teen's Guide to Living Your Dreams, which is my best-selling book. And they know that I do a lot with kids when it comes to purpose. That's why my passion mapping, I created that. And they say, Coach, you know, Daryl, can you sit down with my daughter? She's trying to figure some things out. And sit down, have a talk with them. And you know why? Because I'm part of the dream team. One of my good friends, Chuck, Chuck is a financial wizard. He sits down, he talks to the kids about budgeting. You know what I mean? So these are all people that are part of our team that help us. And then you want your kids to have proper exposure to them. You know, for us, it was typically getting together every month, somebody hosted, kids interacted. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they were going over to everybody at their house all the time, or they're coming to our house. We would have separate events, we'd get together. But really the big crux of it with Dads United was us getting together as dads with our kids. The wives thought we were crazy when we were first doing it, because I got 4 kids. My friend Rod has 5 kids, and John has 4. There's all these kids. Like, y'all want to get together with all these kids? What are you guys going to do with all these kids? And the kids would come back home talking about how much fun they have. And the wives like, how are y'all doing that? Then they got suspicious. How are y'all pulling this off? I said, no, we got this. We can handle it, you know? And so we wanted the training points, want to analyze what parents would like an assistant coach. We want to talk about the parameters. All right. Parents must put in place to create a powerful team, and then put in place the goals parents should have for them. So for the team. So these are things we're looking at. These are things we want to, you know, it's just, these are just little things we'll talk about in the training. And again, keep in mind, you're going to get this information. We're running out of time. So let me get to this last point. Now, this one we won't be training on immediately. We're going to do the other trainings, and then we'll look at this one later down the line. I'll talk to Megan and we'll see how we can figure this out. But we're looking at a training every month until May, just one training. All right. And then this will be the 4th. So we'll look at how this will go. But we want to talk about parent role modeling. And like, this is me. I mentioned I go to the gym every day. My son, when he was home, he was going with me. You know, I would take him and he would work out right along with me, because he was watching his dad do it. And he said, I'm going too. He was training for VMI too at the time. But just trying to be an example for him. I'm not saying people need to go to the gym with their kids. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just using this as an example of trying to model certain behaviors. So what is this parental role modeling thing? Well, we want this to be front of mind. I think sometimes as a parent, it's not front of mind. We're not thinking about the examples that we're, you know, I remember telling my wife one time, you know, we're married, and I can be honest, you know, with married folks, you have marriage debates, you know, and so I said to my wife one time, I said, you know, we need to be careful. Yes, it's healthy for kids to see us work through things, but they don't need to be involved in everything they see with us. If we have a debate or an issue, sometimes we just need to go to a private area and talk about this. Not always, because kids process things different than we do. So if they see us having a challenge, sometimes they may think there's struggles that may cause us to separate. It ain't gonna ever happen because I'm committed for life, but I know how they may process it. So I said, some things they will be exposed to, but some things they don't need to be. You know what I mean? When we're having conversations. And so let's be an example relationally on how to communicate in front of our children, how to talk in front of them. That's just important. Now, yeah. So yeah, work out. Okay, you work out with your daughter's saying, okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and that's great. So putting systems in place to know and understand each child, that's an important aspect. So each child, like when we talk about that part, with each child, they process things differently. They do. And so we need to understand, what does this child need? Like my daughter Sophia is all about getting the job done. So she's about get it done. She's not, it's funny, the girls, she's a girl, but she's not touchy-feely, like, all that, but I still hug her. I say, you my daughter, I still dance with her, even though she don't want to sometimes. I say, you just can't, you just gonna get that anyway, because I'm your daddy. And then but my youngest boy, I can hug him all day long. He'll sit there on the couch, lean his head on my shoulder. He's just a big old, he's just a huggy bear, And my oldest son is like, he's a stern, and when I just grab his big old head and I pull it in sometime, and he gonna get one too anyway. I don't care, you my son. But I deal with them where they are, because I know my interaction with them, even though it's collective as far as my love, is different as far as my approach. And that's an important statement. Okay, the love is universal. The approach is different because they all need things. So Sophia is a process, get it done person, and she's good with that. Okay, Daryl is kind of stern yet loving, but so when you communicate with him, you got to communicate on where he is. And Alex is just a huggy bear with an attitude, because every now and then he'll get an attitude with you. But I know it. So as a role model, I'm gonna interact with them in a way that they all want to be able to accept and embrace what dad is bringing to the table. My wife is the same way. My style is a little bit easier for me to do that. It's a little tougher for my wife because she's more of a driver personality. So she's about getting the job done too. And so I told her, sometimes you got to pull back on that personality a little bit and just kind of give them leeway, you know what I mean, to be able to communicate things from their vantage point. Because if it's always about just getting the job done, then they never get a chance sometimes to express who they are. And so that's an important thing to keep. And then the areas we need to improve on. So the points there, we want to inspire parents to understand the importance of it, encourage parents to focus on individual relationships, and encourage parents to focus on areas of improvement. Parenting, I'll say this before we get ready to wrap this up. Parenting itself should be treated like, if I'm on a job, my job is saying, hey, you have certain responsibilities. You may have to take courses. You may have to read books. You may have to, as parenting, we need to put some time into what does it take for me to be a better parent? How can I be effective as a parent? Now, that doesn't mean we got to go take classes and courses. I have, I've listened to CDs. I've, online, I'm listening because I don't realize I don't know it all. Mm-hmm. And I need to learn and grow. So if I can take the time to learn and grow in my profession, I can take the time to learn and grow in my personal life. You know what I mean?
Everybody who becomes parents need to have this course first, so that when the people become parents, they know what to do, because all of it is learn on the job as you go. And there were no courses like this. So thank you. Our kids are almost grown now, but it's still.
Well, you guys have done a magnificent job, so you're good. But you're good. You've done it. And listen, I'm sharing this with you, and you talk to my kids, they'll tell you some kinks in my armor, because we all have them. But the reality is, knowing this now as parents of VIPs, committee leaders, we can create movement around this. Now I'm gonna say this type of stuff here could be just about for anybody. It's just so much like you could want to have school parents and school systems come watch this stuff, because you're right. And I always say this, Nima, parenting is the only thing where you don't have to go, like, if I have get a car, I got to get a driver's license. Yeah. I got to take classes and courses. But when it comes to parenting, you just have a baby. Yeah. Figure it out, And so we got to fill in the gaps our own self. So it is 8 o'clock on the nose. this is what we want to do. And again, I got to get this confirmed through Megan, but I want to look at having an event at the end of this month for the parents where we look at vision. So I shared everything with you, but each of the modules is going to be each of these. And in April, passion mapping. All right. And again, this is for the parents. All right. And we want to deliver it. Now, I'm going to say this. We may want to think about that April one, do something with a parent-youth combination. Something to think about.
Okay.
And we deliver that. Okay. And so that way maybe we'll get that one and we say we're talking about doing, maybe we can do that in April. So we give the parents the tools to be able to do it with their kids beyond it, but then give the kids the tools to be able to work through it while we're on there. So, and then in May, we want to do the parent as coach, assistant coaches, dream team training. And so what's going to happen is once this is all approved, the dates are approved, we'll get a Zoom link like we did before registration. We can send it out. I can work with Tisha and Megan to create some material to market it. And obviously Sharice will talk as well and try to pull some pieces together and try to get this out more sooner than later. We have quite a bit of time because it's the end of the month, but we want to get it more sooner than later, maybe probably no later than next week, start getting some information out. And then I will send you the modules and the slides. You're going to get this stuff here too. And this has been videotaped, so you get a chance to look at this again if you want. And Megan, I'll get this to you by tomorrow, the video. And Sharice, I'll get that over to you as well by tomorrow, because tonight I got some things I got to run out and do quickly, or else I would do it tonight. And I think this is going to be a great addition to the other things we talked about doing. I know we're a minute over, but what are your thoughts on what you just heard? Did this make sense? And it could be anyone, Megan or anyone else. What are your thoughts?
I think this makes a lot of sense. One of the things I was looking at the dates, even as the session was starting, one of the other members of parents of VIPs pointed out to me that today we might get less people because the second Tuesday of each month, there's another set of meetings that takes place. But as I look at these dates, none of them are the second Tuesday of the month. So I think that works great. I like what you've got out here. I'm thinking what we could do is for whoever couldn't make it today for whatever reason, if it's okay, we can put that link on our Facebook group.
Yep.
See who can start, seeing some of that, so that everyone has the benefit of this. Yep. I love the mapping thing, the passion mapping exercise. Mm-hmm. Anything, if you want to set it up on one of those Facebook live events, people can join in when they like. We could try that as well.
Okay. All right. I'm game for all of it, man, because it's just, and the thing about it is when I created this whole idea as a parent, as a coach, I said, if one of the things I really envision, and we have it to some extent in some places, that parent of coaching community. And that's what the committee can help create. Where this is a paradigm with parenting with DBVI in our state, state of Virginia, where this is kind of part of the dialogue. We're coaching our kids, and and it's almost like, be honest with you, can almost create T-shirts around it. You know what I mean? And just different things that really are about, trying to create that synergy. Because I believe if we get this, we're going to see some great things happen. I mean, I really do. And having the parent piece involved in connection with the work that's already being done there, it just connects the dots to greatness with our young people. So, but now I'm way over 4 minutes. Thank you so much for your time. I will have this link by tomorrow. I'm going to be sending out the modules by early next week for you to look at and think about what piece you want to play in it. Maybe I'm going to actually, like the one with the Parents Coach Vision, do like a 20-minute video explaining it, so you'll have some idea what it looks like. And then from there, we'll, if there's any questions, we can do all this via email. We don't need to get together again. And then, March the 31st, we just do it. Then maybe we will get together and debrief and then talk about other committee type stuff. Because we started with a lot of ideas. We want to make sure we're still doing some of that. And so we can kind of reconvene around some of those too. So, yeah. So thank you all so much for your time. I've gone a few minutes over.
Thank you too.
Yeah. I hope that this was helpful. Thank you for your input. Thank you, Megan. I know y'all work hard over there, but taking another night to be a part of this. And I look forward to seeing great things happen with this.
Yeah. And Ina, Kim, Tisha, it's always a pleasure to meet other parents and interact with you guys. Loved reading the chat. And Megan, thank you so much for taking even more time.
Yeah.
Out of your regular job.
Absolutely.
Hey, Kim, I just
See you
want to ask
next
Kim,
time.
this was Kim's first time, I think. Kim, what were your thoughts on this, what you just, I don't know if she left. She may have left.
No, I'm here. Hi.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I thank you for working with our Virginia families. It's exciting to have some opportunities and some training.
Yeah, okay, good, good. Okay, I just want to, I know you just your first time jumping on this, so I just want to get your thoughts. Okay. All right, everybody. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Thank
got it.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.